Hi, I'm Coach Corey Wayne, and this is my video coaching newsletter. And the topic of today's newsletter is going to be meeting great women is the result of a great social life. Well, I got an email success story to share with you. This guy's been following me for about 3 years. And so he wanted to kind of share the change in mindset he's had over the last few years since he started following my work. Initially, he was using it to meet women online and in bars, but as he got more focused on his mission and his purpose in life and embodying the things that were in 3% Man, he noticed that just living a great life, his social life and his activities were actually, he was meeting much better quality women through his peer group and his social circle than he had been through online dating and the bar scene. And so that really completely changed his perception on things. So it's a good email success story to go through with you guys, because I do see this issue quite a bit. A lot of guys that are having trouble meeting women, and they're only leaning on dating apps or bars, nightclubs, things of that nature, and they're not having a lot of good luck. Because you got to understand, it's like fishing. And so wherever you fish is going to determine the kind of women that you want. And like attracts like. People that like the same things tend to like each other. It's like all the really great women and relationships I wrote about that I've had over the years in 3% Man. Every single one of those girls just came as a byproduct of bumping into them in my social circles, or while I was involved in the hobbies and the interests and the things that I love doing for fun. And so just, again, people that like the same things tend to like each other. Like my English girlfriend, I was at a Tony Robbins event. I wasn't going there to meet women. I was going there because it was a seminar called Date with Destiny, which is one of the best live seminars I've ever been to, and I highly recommend it if you guys haven't been to Tony Robbins' Date with Destiny. But I had some friends there that were platinum partners of mine, but for the most part, it was like 3,000 people that were there for about 8-10 days, and we were all growth-oriented, very outgoing people. And what's cool about those kinds of events is that there's a high concentration of people that just have a kind of a gleam in their eye or a little bit of a sparkle in their eye. They're the kind of people that leave their imprint on the world and society. And so it's just, I happened to see her the first night. She was a couple rows ahead of me. I mean, I wrote about it in my book, in 3% Man. But we made eye contact. She ends up leaving before the night is over, and I knew since we were there for a whole week, I'm sure I was going to see her again. Sure enough, very next night I bump into her at one of the restaurants at the resort where the event was being held and I was staying. So I asked her out, made a date for the next night, and then after that we were just kind of like always together. It was just very easy, very effortless. Wasn't trying to meet anybody. I was there to have a good time. And I was in an environment where I had some good friends there that I had made over the past year. And I was really excited about the event and to learn it. And what was cool about when I met her is that she'd also done some of the same events and things that I had done. And so we had a lot in common. It was very easy to talk about. I mean, we're there for a 10-day seminar, basically. And so we talked a lot about that and how Tony's work had impacted her, changed her life, and vice versa. So there was just a lot of sharing. And so what is the likelihood that you're just walking down the street and you bump into somebody like that in the grocery store, or walking down the sidewalk and you're where a bunch of shops are, places to eat, where you happen to maybe live? It's possible, but again, you got to think in terms of where are you fishing at? Like attracts like. People that like the same things tend to like each other. It doesn't mean you can't meet good women on dating apps or in the bars and nightclubs. It does happen. Like any girls that I did meet in those environments, I never had one serious long-term relationship from a girl that I met online. But when I did meet girls in a bar, it was usually because they were tangentially connected to people that were in our group or our entourage, whatever you want to call it. They were all out just having a good time together. And so when you do things like that, you get, whether you're going, like in our case, it was going with the people that we worked with, that we're in real estate with. It's a very social business. Hey, we're going downtown. We got a table at this place. Hey, we're going here. You guys should come. Oh, hey, there's a company happy hour or a new home builders opening up a new community, and they got 4 models that are built there, and they have a band playing. They'll have music and food and drinks, and so you go there, you see other people that are in the business, and then after the event like that ends, like, hey, we're going here for happy hour, we're all going to meet at the ale house or whatever it happens to be. So you end up hanging out as a group, and all throughout the evening, people that are part of that group are calling their friends or their girlfriends and saying, hey, come meet up with us. And so it's like every weekend was just a constant revolving door of people that are like-minded, that are in the business, that have similar interests, similar goals, similar values. And when you're doing things like that, it makes it very easy to meet other like-minded people and have a lot in common and a lot to talk about. Or if you're real big into art and you go hang out at art galleries, or like where I live, it's like once a quarter they shut the street down and they have a bunch of art and stuff out there at an art fair. And so if you're one of those kind of creative people and you're into that, you're a painter or a sculptor or whatever, and you're into those things, just talking to and seeing other artists and other people that are there shopping or just checking it out because they also like art. It just gives you a lot of things to talk about. Or joining a yacht club if you love boating, or joining a country club if you love golfing. And like in this particular case, this guy's really into health and fitness, and so he started joining some groups that were all committed. It's like workout, exercise activities, like a CrossFit type of thing, and it's done real well for him. So let's go through his email and see how it affected his life. So he says, hi, Coach. I've come a really long way, and I'm writing you to hopefully improve the lives of your listeners. Very long story short, I followed the red pill crap from about age 17 to 23. I went through various relationships and dating phases before finally finding your work at age 26. From about 26 to 28, I took your work very seriously. I had my successes and failures, and as I reflect on how far I've come, I think a lot of your students miss a huge part of your work, as did I. And that is to get lost in your hobbies, not on dating apps and girls from bars and nightclubs. Because again, the reason why you get lost in your hobbies is because you're really into the hobbies. You're not so much into being on a dating app. You're there because you want to meet girls, and that's the only reason you're on there. It's not because you enjoy swiping left or right. It's actually, it can be quite a bit of work and almost like a second part-time job with the amount of time you spend on an online dating app. That's why it would behoove you and it'd be better to spend your time getting lost in your hobbies and your interests, just because, again, taking the pond analogy, the fishing analogy, you just have a much higher concentration of the kind of people, the kind of like-minded people that you really want to meet are also going to be involved in those particular hobbies. So he says, so I used to study your work and apply it to online dating with random girls at the bar, completely ignoring the key concept of how bars and nightclubs are the worst places you can meet girls. The same could be said about online dating. So just under a year ago, I started trying various group workout gyms instead of going to the gym solo before finding one that I really enjoyed. Yeah, there's a lot of them. You got CrossFit, there's like Orange Theory, you got Pilates, you got yoga classes. It's just going and getting involved with other like-minded people that like the same things. It just makes it pretty easy, especially if you're going to go to a yoga class and you're a dude. You're mostly going to be surrounded by women. And that's a great thing because you're outnumbered by ladies. And obviously women like guys. So if you're hanging out at a yoga class with 20, 30 women and you're like one of 2 or 3 dudes in the whole class, you stack the deck in your favor. And so all it takes is one girl to start talking to you. And then others shortly thereafter will be talking to you because it's a safe environment. And it makes it really easy to meet other like-minded people that are healthy, that are into yoga, that tend to be spiritually focused, that kind of thing. So he says, I've had my success dating and sleeping around the gym, but that's not my point. He says, my point is, without realizing, I was indulging myself in the gym's culture, getting lost in my new hobby, making friends there, meeting their friends, meeting their girlfriends' friends, and so on and so forth. Yeah, that's what happens. It's like my girlfriend that had the daughter. Like when I met her, there was this guy I used to work with. He was a younger guy. He was just out of college when I was working with him. And I hadn't seen him in like 5 years, and I was downtown with a bunch of the guys that I worked with, and we ran into him, and he's like, "Hey, what have you been up to?" And I think we were getting ready to leave. He's like, "We should get together." I was like, "Well, we're going to be going out next week, probably." He's like, "Here's my number. Give us a call." And sure enough, like that Friday, he texted me or called me and asked what we were doing. And so I told him where we were at. And he shows up with this particular girl that I ended up dating. He had actually, I didn't know it at the time when I first met, but they had dated but had broken up, and they were still kind of like friends with benefits, and neither one of them had anything going on that Friday night, so they decided to go hang out together. And so, I mean, you guys read, I don't need to go through that whole story because that's in the book, but like I said, I wasn't out trying to meet anybody. I was just hanging out with the guys that I work with because we're blowing off some steam. We had a good week. Then I run into a dude I used to work with I hadn't seen in 5 years. And then he ends up introducing me to this girl that, I later found out she'd still kind of been seeing him as well, but it wasn't going to go anywhere. But they were still kind of friends with benefits. And so that's just kind of how it all happened. And she was in the insurance industry, and since we did real estate and did mortgages, we had a lot of clients that needed homeowners insurance. And so we initially started talking about that, and then she told me that they weren't really together anymore, that they used to date, they were kind of hanging out, but that they were both basically a free agent. And that's just kind of how it happened. So she and I had a lot in common, and then as we got to talking, there were other people that we knew in the business that we both knew. And so what's interesting is eventually, just because of the connections we had, we probably would have met anyways. But that's the kind of thing that happens. Is like you lose yourself in the business, you meet other people that are in the business, you do things together socially, attraction happens, chemistry happens when you meet somebody that you click with, and then it just kind of flows from there versus hoping to meet somebody online that you don't have anything in common with, or hoping to meet some random girl in the grocery store or wandering down the street. So he says, it made me reflect on a few of your episodes where you suggest getting lost in your hobbies and meeting people that way. I believe you even suggest going to Equinox if you can afford it. Well, I mean, think about it. Equinox is one of the more expensive, if not the most expensive gym you can go to. And so you're not, people that are broke as a joke or poor or just don't have their shit together are not going to be going to a gym like that. And if you like to deal with other highly intelligent, high-income, high-net-worth people, you might meet somebody like an Equinox. Again, you got to think in terms of where are you fishing? So these little puppies decided that they weren't going to let me film because they're a little needy. So it's better that than having them barking. Anyways, I hope you enjoy the furry additional entertainment. So he says, and I can't confirm this enough, the gym that I go to now is expensive, and I by no means can easily afford it, but in addition to meeting plenty of attractive girls by way of my new gym, I've also met really successful, growth-oriented guys. I'm now 29 years old, casually dating a beautiful feminine girl, and I'm in an interview process for a really good job that a friend of mine from the gym referred me to. Yeah, that's another thing. Like when I was in college at FIU, I went to one of my good friends that I went to school with. He went to the director of our BCN construction management program, and he's like, hey, I want to get a job as an intern or something, willing to work for free or whatever. And he ended up going to work for Syntex Rooney. They were paying him like minimum wage. He's like, I'll work for free. He's like, well, we'll pay you minimum wage at least to start with. And so just through that idea, it gave me an idea, and I eventually went there, and I got an unpaid internship. And then that was my very first construction job. So I worked for them for about 1.5 years, got a bunch of experience, made a lot of connections. Like my scheduling manager professor also worked for Rooney. He was their scheduling manager. The guy that was a director of marketing for Rooney, he was also a professor that taught marketing in the college I went to. And the CEO's son, I happened to get to know, who was the CEO of Rooney at the time. I knew his son, and who now runs his dad's company. They built the Marlins Stadium down in Miami. They do a lot of really, really big projects. But he and I were buddies. We would hang out. It was, same group of college friends. We were all the same age. And so just getting to know those people and developing friendships with just guys I was going to school with helped. It just created a series of events that when I decided I wanted to move to Orlando and work on a Disney project, I knew the CEO, I knew the marketing manager, I knew the scheduling manager, all through relationships that I made going to college at FIU. And that's just how all that stuff works with. And I knew his son because we hung out together, we did things together socially. We'd like to go out and party and drink and have a good time. And now he's pretty much running his dad's company all these decades later. He's still in the business. Obviously, I got out a long time ago. But like I said, this is what happens here. It's just through the friendships and the connections, people get to know you and they know what you do and what you're about. They like you and they hear about a job opportunity and they tell you about it. And so, now he says, he's 29, he's dating this beautiful girl. And now one of his friends from the gym told him about a job opportunity. And that's just how it happens. And that kind of shit's not going to happen when you're sitting at home on your couch watching TV or flipping through a dating app. I mean, it can happen, but it's much more likely to happen when, like, he's losing himself in the gym culture that he's going to. He's going to an expensive gym, so you get high-income, high-net-worth, high-achieving type people that belong there because people that are broke as a joke are just simply not going to be hanging out there. And it doesn't mean you got to be rich and famous to work out there. You can actually improve your situation if you think about it. Like in this case, it's probably a stretch for him to afford to go there, but because of the social circle and the group of people that he's met, now he's getting job opportunities because of his social connections that he's made that will enable him to make more money than he's made in the past. And that's just what's so cool about it. You just really focus on your network, not going out and trying to date, just losing yourself in your hobbies and your interests. Now he's got a girl that he met through the gym culture that he got involved in, or the gym network, and now he's got a job opportunity that's come along. So he says, so I guess I write to you because I feel like a lot of your listeners either half-ass your work. I mean, that's true. I mean, how many times do you guys see me roasting somebody that's been following me for years and they barely got through the book once, and then they wonder why they're struggling in their long-term relationships? You got to put your time in with the book. There's a great quote by Nick Saban. He said, mediocre people don't like high achievers, and high achievers don't like mediocre people. And it's so true. I mean, the other thing is most people tend to major in minor things anyway. So they want the quick fix. They want to half-ass everything. And they just like, hey, what's the magic pickup line? And the people that really high achieve and do really well, of course they have puppies, but they apply better success principles than most people. I'm just an average looking dude. I don't look like the type of guy that should know this stuff, but what sets me apart is I know better success principles than most people, and I apply it. I apply and I teach the fundamentals of the science of high achievement for both your personal life and your professional life. And I've got a huge, multi-decade track record of implementing and applying these things in my life, my businesses, my social life, and teaching it to other people, and they get the same type of results. And so it's like the cheat codes to life. The more you apply this stuff, the more you immerse yourself in it, the more you take it seriously, the better you're going to do. Because again, most people won't do it. When you look at somebody like Tom Brady and all the stuff he did with pliability and being anal about his diet and all the things he would do to keep himself flexible to help prevent injury, most of his teammates he tried to share that stuff with, like they tuned him out. They weren't listening. It's like how many of you guys drink Corey's green juice or do the green smoothies? Why don't you say so in the comments? It's like a small fraction. It's like a fraction of a percentage point actually take the stuff that I teach in Mastering Yourself and apply it in their own life. Most people just simply, they won't do those things. Like, oh, I got my own thing going on, Corey. And so it's just, again, you get out of it what you put into it. So he says, I know this because I certainly didn't apply it properly, and I see a lot of my friends doing the same. Again, we want the shortcuts to success, but the reality is there are no shortcuts. And if you're willing to discipline yourself for many years and decades, that's why as the decades roll on, you achieve amazing things just because you stick with it and you keep learning it. And you're more disciplined and you spend your time and your actions more focused on things that actually get you long-term results instead of just half-assing it, trying to get through the work week to the weekend so you can veg out and space out on the weekend. Something simple like just driving in your car. Maybe you got a 20, 30-minute commute to and from your job. Well, instead of just listening to music, which is nice, maybe you should be listening to an audiobook that fills your head with good knowledge, good information, good wisdom that can help you grow your reserve of knowledge and continue to develop your gifts, your skills, and your talents, because that's what sets you apart. And all those connections I made back in the day at college and working at Syntax Rooney, I wasn't thinking about the connections that I made down in South Florida and how some of those friendships ultimately were going to lead me to one of the great loves of my life, who I wrote about in the book, The Girlfriend with a Daughter. It's just amazing how, like, when you carry the decades forward, how all those dots connected. And it was just me being social, me taking my career seriously, me just taking the time to walk in to the dean of the School of Construction Management at FIU and telling him my plans, telling him what I wanted to do, him thinking about who's got opportunities because he knows people in the industry and they get in contact with him. Hey, we're looking to hire some new people. Be on the lookout. This is what we're looking for. And then somebody like me just taking the time to walk in there. Most of the guys I went to college with, I seriously doubt whether they went in there and took that approach. And because, I just looked at how many of them ended up going to work for the same companies that I did. It was very few of them did. A lot of people go to school, they get their degree, and they just think all the opportunities are going to be dropped at their feet. It's not how it works. You got to apply yourself. As I love that quote by Jocko Willink, discipline equals freedom. And so when you're highly disciplined, you're disciplined in a way that most people are not. You're going to get opportunities that most people do not. This guy is disciplined about taking care of his body, and he used the gym culture and where he works out to improve his social group. So now he's got a girl he's dating, he's got a bunch of new friends he's made, and now he has a business opportunity that came his way. So he stretched himself financially to get into this peer group. It's just like when my parents sent me to Cardinal Gibbons High School. A big reason why they did that is that was a stretch for them financially. They hoped that getting me and my brother around other successful people who grew up in families that were much more successful and wealthier and well off than we were, that we would befriend them, and that would raise our expectations. Because as Tony Robbins says, the quality of your life is in direct proportion to the expectations of your peer group. So if you grow up with other people that are rich and successful, you go to school with kids whose families own NFL franchises, they're entrepreneurs, and they've created multi-billion-dollar businesses, the names of which, if I mention here, you would definitely know those companies. And you get to know those people, and you hang out, and you go to their houses or their mansions when they have their parties and the parents are away, and you befriend people like that. You realize, these guys aren't any smarter than me. It's like, I can do the stuff that they do. And so you are who you associate with. And if you associate with other high-achieving people, even if you kind of really can't afford it, it's kind of like you're in the club. And if you develop your personality and are friendly and outgoing and take a sincere, authentic interest in other people, and you're a high-character person, you'll attract and you'll meet other high-character people. And the thing that's interesting is that people with money tend to be more relaxed. They tend to be more social. They tend to have a better code of honor and ethics than your average person that you're going to bump into on the street. And they also tend to marry women who are attractive, fit, and in shape, and therefore they have kids. They have beautiful daughters that grow up to be attractive, fit, and in shape, and also highly intelligent, versus hoping to meet somebody like that just walking around and bumping into them on the street. So you got to think in terms of this as, what kind of people am I going to meet as I do my hobbies and my interests? Because if you're hanging out with a bunch of people that just want to smoke weed and play video games all day, well, that's the expectations of your peer group, and that's what you're going to become, because that's who you spend your time with. But if you're stretching yourself financially like this guy did to go to a gym that's a little more expensive, you're in the upper class or the higher socioeconomic classes of people, and they'll kind of pull you up to their level. Like in this case, he's got a job opportunity that's coming his way. And you get paid based upon the value that you bring to the marketplace. And like what he's done, developing his social connections, that's one way that you can improve your income earning potential, your peer group, your friendship group, and ultimately the quality of the women that you date. He says, now dating apps and bar girls can be great for boosting your confidence and comfortably talking to girls, but to actually use your book to self-improve how it's meant, it's essential that you take these concepts and embrace them in all aspects of your life. And as for dating, apply them to the girls you meet outside of dating apps or at the bars, which means putting yourself in situations to meet the kind of girl that you're looking for in the first place. So go get lost in a hobby, become a regular at whatever it is that you do, network, and meet girls that way. This is the way. Thank you, Corey. Bob. Well, thanks for sharing that great success story. Just to remind you guys to, again, raise the expectations. Hang out with higher quality people. You'll make better quality friends. You'll date better quality women. You'll improve your career. You potentially get clients out of it. And if you're hanging out with other people that are stretching and trying to become better than they are and reach their full potential, they're going to encourage you to do the same. Because again, as the old saying goes, you become like the 5 people that you spend most of your time with. So if you guys haven't already signed up for our paying members only content, in the description of this video there are links to join on YouTube, to join on Spotify, or you can join at the website, understandingrelationships.com. Just click the plans tab at the top of your screen. And the advantage of joining the membership content on our website is you get the email analysis that goes along with the 5 additional paid video coaching newsletters similar to this one that the paying members have access to Monday through Friday. Plus, we have a weekly 3% Man Study Group podcast, a weekly Mastering Yourself Study Group podcast. We also have other special videos and episodes and interviews and viewer question podcasts where we just go rapid fire and do 10, 15 questions over the course of an hour, hour and a half of the shorter questions that you guys tend to submit. And if you join on our website, you get a 7-day free trial. You can sign up for a monthly plan or an annual plan. If you choose an annual plan, you get a 25% discount at the end of the 7-day free trial for paying the whole year's premium up front. And if you've got a question or a challenge and you want to get my help, go to understandingrelationships.com, click the products tab at the top of your screen on any page of my website, and book a coaching session with yours truly. Until next time, we'll talk to you soon.